Hey everybody, welcome to the Tatiana Show. I'm here with my new friend Dave. We're chilling down in Eleuthera. I am going to introduce you to him in just a moment, but I want you to understand why am I here with this beautiful background. Look at that. Not bad, right? So I'm here because we're doing recon for, well, I'm doing recon for Crypto Cares. And I met Dave the other day, and he's a Liberty lover. He's already familiar with Bitcoin, and I guess you're a trader. Why don't you tell the audience who you are? 'Cause
Yeah,
you have a lot of different things you're doing.
I'm going to tell a story right after I tell them who I am.
Okay,
Because it's funny
that's
when we
good.
first met, right?
All right.
Anyhow, so I write a newsletter called addictedtoprofits.net. And I do a lot in venture capital. I raise money for mostly, I've done some crypto stuff. I'm mostly into mining, especially gold and precious metals. So, and I live here. I'm from Canada originally, and I got sick of weather, taxes, etc. And now it's even gotten worse. I don't need to do a huge rant about that. But yeah, so then I moved down here. I moved to the Bahamas in 2005. Then I moved to Eleuthera in 2012. And actually, funny, Eleuthera, I told you this the night we met.
Don't get out of frame. They want to see you, buddy.
Okay. Eleuthera actually is the Greek word for freedom. And there's not a lot
Yeah,
of,
isn't that cool?
yeah, there's not a lot of rules here. Now, yeah, in terms of day-to-day life. Maybe you shouldn't say this. You can drive around with like a beer in your car, and no one cares, and
We don't recommend that you do that.
yeah, don't do that. Yeah,
we would
yeah,
never
yeah.
recommend
One beer.
that kind of thing.
But yeah, of course not. But anyhow, yeah. So I moved here, and I just like the kind of vibe. The expats are kind of funky. It's a lot of kind of ex-hippies, and there's a
Yeah,
surfing
it's an
beach here.
interesting crowd here. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, a lot of leftovers who probably did too much acid in the '60s. you know?
Okay, it happens.
I'm not that young anymore, but I'm the young guy on the island, definitely with that crowd. But anyhow, so yeah, like I said, I write addictedtoprofits.net. I've written a few books. I do a lot of technical trading. I raise money for companies, and with internet, you can just do it from here. And like I said, the weather, the tax structure is actually in lifestyle is to me all a lot better than Canada. And the quick story we're going to tell was that she asked me where I was from, and I said Canada, and I could kind of tell she was biting her tongue. And I was like, look, I'm the least least patriotic person in the world. I don't care about that country at all anymore. And then she said something negative about Trudeau, and I was like, yeah, I can't stand that motherfucker. Sorry. But yeah. So
I guess this will be an explicit episode. That's fine.
Sorry
no
about that.
problem.
I don't want you to get demonetized.
No, I don't care. Nobody's monetizing anything on YouTube anymore.
But anyhow, no, that's it. So, and we started talking about actually freedom and libertarian, and then I told her I liked Ron Paul, and you told me that you did concerts for Ron Paul and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's how
You're never
people
supposed to
come
talk
together.
politics right away, by the way.
I
with
agree.
somebody.
I did think of that, actually. I was thinking these poor people, they're like, well, I'm not libertarian. Forget these losers. But you shouldn't forget us because we're nice people. And, we're all for lots of different options for people. And one of them is Bitcoin. So my mom has a house down the road. She just built one. And my stepdad, he's had a house down here for a while. And last time I was here, I went and played some music at this place called Champions.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. And I started thinking, like, how you could bring Bitcoin to the island. And then I was introduced to this guy, Ryan Austin, on the island, who's been teaching kids how to code.
Oh, I know Ryan. Yeah,
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah, he's super
Small
cool.
island. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Brie Island, which is Harbor Island.
He
It's
runs
the
that coffee
short thing.
place too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. Small. It's small here.
Yeah.
The whole island has like 12,000 people. So think if you were from a small town, and that was the whole place. So that's what it's like here.
Yeah, it's really like very family feeling. I don't know. You get to know everybody really well, and it's a kooky little family. So Ryan has been teaching kids how to code. He made this initiative all on his own. He's like buying kids their laptops for them. He teaches them. And so I wanted to help him raise some money for some laptops. And then we're partnering with some local charities here. We're still confirming the details. So see the links below because they should confirm today or tomorrow. But yeah, we've got a lot of initiatives around environmentalism. We are working with the Bahamas Plastics charity for sure. We confirmed that yesterday. But basically what we're trying to focus on is environmental impact, hurricane relief, because, Dorian ripped through not Eleuthera as badly, but other islands. There's a lot of displaced people. And just like tech for kids and kind of giving support services for the youth here.
Well, actually, just on the hurricane relief thing, is there's an organization called Head Knowles which is kind of the lead organization. So I'll throw this out there if it's okay. But I raised a bunch of money for them, and I have with my publication. I tell people if they donate $1,000 to Head Knowles, I give a lifetime subscription to my publication.
Oh, okay,
So that
cool.
helps out the people. And the thing I like about Head Knowles opposed to the Red Cross, not that they do bad work, is that it's like a local organization. So they don't have the top end like kind of bureaucracy. They're Bahamians, so they know how to kind of work on the ground, etc. So that's and I think they have a GoFundMe page or whatever too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to take that one offline, but I like the idea.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
this is what happens here in Luther. You just make the magic happen.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a crypto event on January 7th. Tentatively, we might move it to the 9th. Check the website crypto-cares.com, and that'll take you to the page that gives you all the info. But basically, it's free education, free Bitcoin, free live music for everybody, and then we'll videotape it all. And then we're also going to do interviews with a lot of the different locals and get a different perspective. Of course, we'll be talking with a lot of the charities. I want to hear about more details and share them with you about what Ryan's doing. And basically,
The reason I laughed at the locals is that like a lot of the guys in Gregorytown are total drunks. The little town where we're near. So I was just like, I just picture.
not sure this is like selling the event.
I
Man.
just wanted I just picture you like interviewing one of these guys or something.
No, I want to. I'm gonna talk with some of the displaced people from Abaco. I'm gonna talk with some of the organizers.
Some of them, a lot of
the
them
charity.
have moved here. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was getting some input on that, and anything else that really comes up that's interesting. But the objective is to show that the crypto community can give back. We believe in that kind of thing, and I've always been really interested in that, which is why I believe that Connie Glippy, my oldest Bitcoin charity friend, I believe that they're going to be partnering with us on that, so I'm super excited. We've got Dust Aid, which is a London organization. They're also partnering with us. We've got Disruptive PR out in the UK, and...
Well, also one thing you should note is that the Bahamas has exchange controls, right? So if you wanted to move your money and say get a brokerage account in the States to trade stock, something like that, it's I think it's a 20% tax.
Oh, really?
So investing in Bitcoin is kind of a way too, and cryptocurrencies, because it is also an offshore tax haven at the same time,
Right.
is kind of maybe a way for locals to get around and invest in something that's not just, really if you're local and you don't want to pay that tax, you kind of got to invest locally. There's a small stock market, but the stocks are very illiquid, right? And most people do real estate here. There was
Right.
actually one thing why Bahamians, even though the Bahamas was hard hit by the financial crisis, because if you had a second home in the Bahamas and you lost everything in 2008, the first thing you're selling is that, right? To get some cash. But on the other hand, the locals weren't as hard hit because most of them owned, say, some small real estate locally. They didn't own the U.S. stock market. They didn't own anything in the U.S. But
Right.
Bitcoin is and cryptos are in a unique way for people to kind of, I don't want to say anything bad about the government, but get around exchange controls and that sort of thing.
Well, follow your local laws, but that's an interesting concept. We can
Well, as long as
explore at the event.
they don't consider that moving money out of the country, it is legal, right?
Right.
I'd have to look into that. 'Cause I
Okay,
have-
well, we'll get more details if you guys want to know, and you're Bahamian watching this, you can come to our event. So I want to make sure that I'm giving love to all the different people that are already agreeing. So I just
Okay.
want to give a shout out to Lisa Loud out there from 1110, and then I've also got Aaron Nakamoto / Kingsley Edwards over at the Flow app, and
Okay.
I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different people that are going to be supporting it. So if you guys are watching this video and you want to either attend. The event is free for locals. There's a suggested donation for people from the crypto community coming down that'll go towards some of the efforts that we're putting on here. But then, I don't know.
Well,
you can also sponsor the event.
We'll talk about it off camera, but I'll probably get my newsletter to sponsor it.
I
right?
like that idea.
There
Rock
you
and
go.
roll.
And actually, my new book, which is going to come out next summer, actually, I have a whole chapter on cryptos.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. So tell me a little bit more about your background exactly. Like, why are you writing all this stuff? How do you know about all this finance? And
So, like-
how did you go off the grid? You know, what made you do that? Was there any kind of like...
We'll start from
knowing?
like day one. So I actually was weird because, not that I'm normal now, but it was really weird when I was a kid that I really got into, we're talking about libertarianism, is that when I was a teenager, my dad had this little booklet. It was called Plague of the Black Debt. It was by a guy named James Dale Davidson, who wrote The Great Reckoning, which was like a best-selling book back in the 90s. Anyhow, and it was about how all these Western governments were going to go bankrupt. And here we are 20 years later, and they still haven't, even though the debts have like exploded, right? But anyhow, so I got into that, and this is way pre-crypto because we're talking mid-90s. I'm showing my age a little bit, but anyhow, so then I read The Great Reckoning. I read a bunch of Doug Casey's books as well. So I really got into gold and precious metals and
We love you, Doug Casey.
Yeah, Doug knows who I am too. So
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Not as well as you, but yeah. So, but anyway, I really got into libertarianism and gold and precious metal investing. And in the late '90s, I was convinced that the whole tech boom was like a bubble, and this was kind of the end of the stock market bubble at the time. So I wrote a book called Stock Market Panic, and then I was only like 21, 22 at the time. This is 98, 99. I had it published. And then I started like doing the investment conferences, and that went well. I had a couple deals do very well because I was investing in junior mining companies, and when gold went from 250 to over 1,000, and then in 2005 I decided to move to the Bahamas. I actually always wanted to get out of Canada because of the taxes and weather. In Toronto, it's a lot nicer here in Toronto in December. So then I moved to the Bahamas, and then I didn't want to live in Nassau. I'm from a small town, so that I started going to the Out Islands, and this was my favorite one. So I bought a place here, and
Can people just normally, like, okay, so say people come to this island and they come to our event, can anybody just buy land easily, or how does that work?
it's the land a lot. It takes a long time here. The
Okay.
lawyers really run it. It's you got to prove you have the title. But yeah, like for example, on Luther Island Shores where I live, which is kind of like on a surfing beach, it's kind of rustic there, and the land is really cheap. You can buy a lot, and I'm not oceanfront. I'm Keltop, right? But because the island is so thin, I got the view of both oceans.
Oh, okay,
right?
cool.
So so I can watch sunrise, sunset, right? And anyhow, yeah, there you can get lots for 10 grand, 20
Wow.
grand, and then you build on it. And actually, the best thing to build in that area are these little surfer domes. You make them out of concrete. So a small one, if you just wanted a small little kind of hippie shack, a couple hundred square feet or whatever, they only cost like 10 or 20 grand to build. And then a larger one even only costs 70 or 80 grand, right? So, and these are all made of concrete and they're like circular. I have a
Okay.
real house.
No, I know, because I saw one of those dome houses. I think they're super cool, but I'm thinking, how does the Bahamas, like, there's a lot of places in the Caribbean that are kind of tax havens. How does it stack up as a tax haven compared to other places in the area?
Well, there's no income tax, right? So, and we talked about this again when we met that night. I'm Canadian. So I became a non-resident, did it all totally legally. So I'm living down here paying no taxes totally legally. Americans are taxed on your citizenship. So I think if you become a non-resident, there's two factors of this. Number one, if you become a non-resident in the States, only the first 100,000 is tax-free. Number two, I think you got to like be outside of the States, like 310 of like whatever, 100 and whatever days in the year. And then as a Canadian, I only have to be outside of Canada half the year, and like I'm just totally tax free. I don't get the Canadian healthcare and all that stuff, but like I don't pay any income tax. I don't have to pay Canadian pension stuff. That's it, and it's all legal. So that's why you find they call them tax refugees. A lot of Canadians who have money, you'll find them in the Bahamas or Barbados. A lot of the things about those places too is that they're British or they were British. So they have the common law, the same legal system as Canada because we're on common law. The U.S. again isn't, right? But so and they're English speaking. So the Bahamas, like I said, has no income tax, but it's got really high duties. So stuff here is expensive. It's an island, so everything's got so you got the cost of importing plus the duties on top of it. So the cost of living is more expensive. But I worked it out, and I figured you don't have to be super rich. If you're making, say, like 100 grand a year, you're still better off here than Canada because the amount of income tax you're paying. Maybe your grocery bill and some of your local expenses, this and that, are going to end up costing you 10 grand, 20 grand more. But in Canada, if you make
what percentage more would you say? But Canada's cheap. That's the thing. Like, to me, in New York, maybe some stuff is about 10, 15% more expensive or on par with New York pricing. But Canada, you guys have that exchange rate that's not as favorable as us.
but Canada stuff is more expensive when you're actually there. Because everything, because especially in the winter, stuff has to be imported because it's so cold there, right? And then when the exchange rate goes down, we import most of the stuff from the States.
Okay.
So then the price is going to go up as well, right? So, and the real estate in Canada is ridiculous now. We have a housing bubble in Canada.
Well, I think that's in a lot of different places.
Well, Toronto...
Is there a housing bubble in Eleuthera or no?
No.
All right. See, guys, come on down. You could get like a tour of the land.
I'll tell you this. I bought my house in Eleuthera for about 350, and this is when the Canadian dollar was par. So, and I was selling Canadian investments to do it, so it was perfect. Now at 75 cents, boom, I made 30% in Canadian dollars just from that, and it's strengthened a little bit here, but it's not like crazy. Like in Toronto, a dump is $1.2 million.
Oh wow.
And Vancouver is Vancouver and Toronto are like San Francisco prices.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
so that's another thing too. You factor that into the cost of living. Okay, you can get cheaper credit there, but it's like the real estate there. I laugh because I'm like, okay, maybe my house has gone from 350 to 450, right? But I'm like, and 450 in Toronto gets you like dump, like a total dump, or a little
And you're
studio.
living, not far from the beach. You've got the views, and I don't know, guys. I go to a lot of different places, and something I noticed is that this place, there's something where you really actually fall in love with the island. It's an unnerving feeling almost, because you're like, okay, but every time I look out onto the water, my eyes are like, holy cannoli. I'm so impressed with everything. I mean, the camera does nothing, no justice. Actually, but you know what?
Well, what's unique about Eleuthera
Look
too,
at that.
it's shown
See,
the water.
we're over at the Cove, by the way. This
This-
is a cool local venue.
Yeah, this is a really nice resort.
Yeah, beautiful resort.
And another thing
Very
that makes
close to where
Eleuthera-
the event is. So if you want to spend your Satoshis, this is a good place to get like a high-end experience. Or you can rent a place. Actually, some of the apartments you can rent for $100 for one bedroom a night
There's
during
lots
the event. So it's not outrageous.
Well, another thing that's changed the island is Airbnbs
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said before, you had this. There's only a handful of resorts, and then most of them are smaller. This is probably the biggest resort on Eleuthera on Harbor Island. I think there's 64 rooms here.
Okay.
And most of the resorts are small boutique, 15, 20 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but also makes it unique is that that's the Caribbean. Usually it's flatter than that. We just had a front come through from the west blowing east. Usually the wind goes east to west. But anyhow, so this is where the water's usually turquoise and pretty. And then the other side is the Atlantic. So you have these two oceans that meet, like right here, like nowhere else in the world's like that. Usually
Okay.
you're in the Caribbean or the Atlantic's there. If like you're in Florida, like you're in Miami, it's just the Atlantic. Maybe in the Keys has a bit of the, yeah. So, and it has that crystal clear water because of all the reefs. So like where you are in Oleander, on a flat day, on low tide, you can walk out like half a mile or something.
You're not out of frame,
sorry,
buddy.
You can walk out half a mile.
Okay,
And,
so no, it's really nice. There's so many beautiful beaches, and what I
So I'm
really
trying
like,
to point to the ocean. That's what I'm.
yeah. Well, one of the things that I like about it is that the beaches are pretty abandoned. Like you can see people if you want to go and see people at certain beaches. I think like Surfers Beach has a lot of people comparatively.
that's
but
where I live.
Golden Key has nothing over there. It's like so beautiful.
Even
Oh.
Surfers Beach, I walk it 4 or 5 times a week. I live over there. If you go to my Periscope, I'm just David Skarica on Twitter. You'll see my Periscopes. I do videos from there all the time. And just talk about the markets or whatever from the beach. And usually there's like 3 people on Surfers Beach. It's not like,
Yeah, I guess that's considered a lot. I went there once and there were like 20 people there. I thought that was a fair amount of people.
that could be during the high season when a lot of the surfers are here.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah, this is supposed to be some of the best surfing in the world, I've heard. Which don't tell your friends, guys. We're trying to keep it a secret.
on the East Coast for sure. A lot of surfer guys from Carolinas or Florida, they'll get little places here, like I said, especially in that area where I'm from, and they'll build a little shack because in the Caribbean you don't have much surfing, especially on the East Coast too. Most of it's on the West Coast, and the thing about surfing here is the water is warm.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, if you're surfing in California, that water, the Pacific is freezing, or Chile or Peru or someplace.
Right.
So.
So you said that sometimes you do market update videos. What do you think of the markets right now? Any thoughts on what's going on?
I wasn't okay. So I've for a while I've thought we're in some kind of massive bubble or top, but this year I was actually pretty bullish because the problem is I'm a contrarian, and most of the people, and especially this summer, were agreeing with me on that. So I was like, there's probably nothing going to happen until the end of the year. But we just saw actually Trump talk about how I don't think there's going to be anything trade till after the election. And a lot of the market's gains were based on some kind of trade deal happening in China. And China's slowing anyhow, which is like negative for the global economy. So I actually think next year, when you get the combination of this volatility over the problems with trade, and look, it's going to be a close election no matter what. But if like someone like Elizabeth Warren wins for the Democrats, who's basically a socialist, right?
Pretty much any Democratic candidate is a socialist.
Biden's just nuts.
He's just like a wet
senile.
rag of doofusness. But none of them are.
But
they're pretty hard left, all of them. There's not
Biden's
really a lot of moderation there.
Biden is like kind of a centrist though. Like out of all of them,
Yeah, I don't know,
Like,
whatever. Forget
yeah,
that
yeah,
guy.
no,
I don't like any of the presidential candidates.
I don't
I'm
like
not
him
like
too, but I'm just
advocating for
saying, like, I
anybody.
think Biden would be the least scary for the
You
markets.
think? Okay.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
out
That's
of all of them.
interesting. All right.
But like all the rest of them are disasters. Sanders, Warren. So I think you'll have that kind of like combination of people now. I don't think anything in trade's going to happen, and 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 Trump's also like I'm a libertarian. Trump's maxing out the credit card, right? There's a $1 trillion deficit. He's increased military spending. He's like, cut corporate taxes, which I don't mind the corporate tax part.
Corporate tax part is okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if you're spending still, that's not necessarily great.
See, and a lot of the GDP calculation
Maybe it is. I don't know.
deficit spending and government spending. So he juiced the GDP by increasing government spending. So I think he's maxing out the credit card, and then the Democrats are wackos. Like you got Yang who wants to give people $1,000 a month.
Well, that's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
Yeah, and
like what I find hilarious about that is that they have a hat that says math.
well,
Maybe we could not have the music. I don't know
okay,
how
just
to do it.
hey, we'll be done shortly. Okay, just a couple minutes. Yeah. So I think that's our cue to kind of end soon. But no, anyhow, so I think wait, put it on. Okay. Anyhow, so
We'll cut this part out. It's all right.
Okay. So anyhow, so they're all socialists. They want, and what's crazy about them being socialists too, I should get into this, is I'm from Canada, where we have an idiot prime minister, and he's a socialist. Basically, he's a liberal.
By the way, not everyone will force you to listen to political talk if you come to this event.
Yeah.
We're not
Anyhow,
gonna do that. But anyway, for now we will.
What's crazy to me about the Democratic candidates, they're further left than a lot of the socialists in Canada, and Canada's always been seen as being more to the left in the States, right?
Yeah.
But in our, for example, the election we just had, no one was talking about a universal basic income, right? And even in Canada, right? So
It's not feasible.
yeah, well, it's not feasible. Like, okay, the current budget.
Why not $1 million?
Well, the budget in the United States is everything: Social Security, defense, like every interest is about just over $4 trillion. Giving everyone, an adult, $1,000 a month is $3 trillion. That's 75% of the budget. And see, I'm actually not totally against that, and I'll tell you why. But I think that if you just gave all the adults $1,000 a month, but you have to get rid of everything. You get rid of Social Security.
Well, they'll never get
Yeah.
rid of everything. If they did that, there is an argument to be made that
And
is
if you want,
semi-worthwhile, although taxation is theft and I don't care what you're
if
giving
you want to be a
people for.
bum and live off your $12,000 a year and smoke weed and just get drunk all day, fine, right?
I don't like paying for that.
But
I just don't. But but if you took out all the other social programs, giving people money in their pocket would be much more useful and a lot less overhead than
that's what I was gonna tell
filtering it through, right?
Well, that's the bureaucracy, right? Because what will happen is, right now you have all these bureaucrats who work for the government. Well, if everyone just got $1,000 a month and there was nothing else, again, no Social Security, no Medicare, no Medicaid, nothing else, all you'd have to do is press a button and everyone gets their $1,000 in the first of the month, and that's it. And you could probably fire 90% of the people who work for the government, but they want to do that on top.
But then they'll all be unemployed on top of it.
Well,
He says he's going to get rid of all those entailments. He'll never, in a bajillion years, first of all, be elected. Second of all, ever get that done, even if he was elected. It's impossible. Completely preposterous fantasy.
And here's the thing that makes it really stupid is the way
Yang Gang.
how he's going to pay for it is he's going to introduce probably a national sales tax. Well, who does a sales tax hurt the most? It's the poor people.
Yeah.
Because that's on groceries, that's on basic goods.
Keep saying in frame, my
sorry.
friend.
That's on. Sorry, you gotta yell at me. But that's on groceries. That's on basic goods. That's poor people that have to pay that. So all you're gonna do is give them $1,000 a month, and then they're just gonna spend that on their in taxes on their grocery bill or clothes or basic stuff they have to buy. Like they put a VAT here in the Bahamas because there's no income tax, and the government did need a way to generate a little bit of revenue. But actually, I have to say, in fairness to them, on that VAT, they like basic goods. Like if you're just buying milk or cheese, that's not included in it, right?
Yeah, but some people will make the case that is the only fair taxes on sales tax and then eliminate all the other taxes.
Well, what I would like to
But
see,
in the U.S., you can't even get close to that because you have $1 billion taxes, and then you also would increase the sales tax, which would be what he's proposing.
well,
I
see,
guess I don't know.
the VAT in the Bahamas.
I don't pay attention to politics so much.
The VAT in the
anymore.
Bahamas, just to get back to here, if people are interested in moving here because there's no income tax, it's 12%. I would actually like them to move it to 20%. And people go, why would you do that? Because then if they do that, they could probably get rid of all the duties. which again would make, because when you go to the dock here and you have to import stuff, because again it is an island.
Yeah, you know what? You would save a lot more actually that way.
Like you want to import a car is like a 45% duty here.
Yeah.
And it's a pain in the ass. You got to figure it out. You got to work it out. Where if it's just like, okay, they put the 20% VAT on anything that came in, that's just a lot easier too, right?
Yeah, much less administrative burden.
But governments like them. That's how they.
Well, that's how they create jobs.
Yeah, they for themselves.
And then when they have the jobs like government employees, then they're not going to vote them out. So.
Well, look at what the voting in DC's like. It's like 93% Democrat or whatever, because that's who wants to employ them.
Yeah. Well, politics aside,
But
we should probably start wrapping. But is there anything else that we want to talk about with people?
well, and, in terms of your conference, the thing about here, it's very cool. If you're someone who is laid back, doesn't, first of all, there's never any traffic here. That's one of the great things, right? The air, all that stuff is perfect. There's all these awesome beaches like she was talking about.
Every day you look out onto heaven.
Maybe we'll do a party at my house too. I'm renovating my house right now, so
perfect. Let's make it happen.
I got a hot tub, so
Yeah, we're gonna get my mom to give him some decorating advice while allowing for 80s sports.
Yeah, I still dress like Don Johnson, so like I need some advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I put Dave into my phone as Dave Miami Vice because he had a white suit on the other day.
Okay, can you do those things where you have like a ringtone for a specific person?
Yeah.
You should put like the Miami Vice theme on.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
for what
do
I
that
call.
one. All right, there you go. I like this.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you plug some links and stuff?
Okay, so addictedtoprofits.net is my website. I'm actually setting up a different service. Actually, this is something. Well,
I'm still talking to you, but I want to read to the audience what's like the information.
I'm springing this on you right now.
All right, let's see
this
how
is
this
something
goes.
you could probably help me with.
Slightly scary. Go ahead.
I actually have another service I'm going to start. It's kind of going to be kind of like a mixture of like travel, lifestyle, investment, and it's called Profiting from Paradise. So it's actually going to be about how you can move to a place like this, make money either working online or maybe starting a small local business, something like that, and so you can kind of get out of the rat race and move away. Because when I meet tourists and just bump into places like this, they're always like, "How can you move here?" And I was like, "Well, I run an investment newsletter online, so that's how." And most people can't, right? Most people have to go to a job.
Yeah, I love working from home. It's amazing. Yeah. I can stay here for a month if I want, and as long as I've got my laptop, I'm good.
Yeah, and you have flexible hours. Because being a writer, sometimes I stay up to 3 a.m. writing and get up at 10, or sometimes I, go to bed at 9 and wake up at 5. So you're flexible too, right? You don't have to be in a rigid kind of lifestyle, especially here where things are kind of laissez-faire and laid back.
It's definitely a chill vibe here, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's nothing going on a lot of the time, but then boom, all of a sudden something is going on, and you can, being like working for yourself, you can adjust, your schedule around it. And again, what also makes this island unique, and people want to come, there's this other island called Harbor Island, which is totally different from here. It's kind of like a mini city. And
that's where Ryan is in his cocoa coffee place.
And it's like lifestyle, the rich and famous there. Like Uma Thurman has a place there. Helena Christensen, the famous model, she was just there. And so those are the kind of people that live in Ireland. They got this pink sand beach that is actually pink. And it's one of those famous beaches in the world. They do like swimsuit, shoots there.
Maybe I'll go there before the end of the week. And maybe if you come to this little shindig, you guys can also see the famous pink sand beach and Uma Thurman.
Okay, I'm gonna maybe we'll do
and Helena Christensen.
Maybe we'll do a quick 2-minute video from there. I'll take you to Sip Sips. It's a great restaurant.
If I have to go to a great restaurant on a beautiful pink sand beach, it's part of the job.
They have a lobster quesadilla twice the size of your head.
I don't need any seafood.
Oh God!
I know.
It's the greatest thing ever. The lobster
Listen,
quesadilla.
if you guys like seafood, people are literally just catching the fish and eating them 10 minutes
vegan?
later. No, I
Thank
eat lots
God.
of... No, let's not get crazy.
Sorry.
Well, no, our friends
listeners.
over at Flow are vegans. They're my vegan buddies. And you know what? I'll tell you something. Erin Nakamoto, one of our helpers on the conference, good friend of mine.
God, I should have said it.
No. I mean, I make fun of them all the time. But I'll tell you, she made some good stuff, vegan stuff. She's, I'm not going to go vegan, but there are a couple options that she made that were tasty.
I like buffalo mozzarella too much.
Well, sorry guys, no buffalo mozzarella if you're vegan, but you can have all sorts of good stuff. Actually, we're probably gonna have some lunch here at the Cove, where they have also really nice food.
Yeah, the thing about the Cove, and when you're here, is because the island is small. This is where you go to get sushi. It's Sydney. I'll give you one. Let me finish on this note.
Sure.
This is the background of this resort. It's a pretty cool story. So, a guy named Sidney Torres. He's really famous from New Orleans. He had a waste disposal company in New Orleans, and he cleaned up New Orleans after Katrina. And I think he got a big government contract, right? And then, of course, that helped the company out, and he sold off the company. Then he came here. He actually used to work for Lenny Kravitz, the famous musician, who has a place here in Eleuthera.
Yep,
You know.
just a little bit.
And it's just
away.
up. Lenny probably doesn't want us to tell you that, but it's just up the road.
Oh, let's not try and torture the guy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
lives very far away from here, but
And the locals,
it's-
like I met Lenny a bunch of times. No one cares about him here. If you're locally, it's like, hey, how you doing? That's it, right?
Yeah.
But anyhow, so Sydney, this resort got basically destroyed after Hurricane Irene, 2011. Sydney bought it for like nothing, renovated it, like built it up, sold it off. He actually has a show on CNBC called The Deed, and that's what he's done for a living. He's always like taken like beater houses, renovated them, and flipped them, right?
Really?
Yeah, that's what Sydney has done for a living, right? So
He has a TV show?
yeah, called The Deed. Yeah,
Is it on now?
yeah, it's on
Wow.
CNBC. I don't know if it's on right at this instant, but
No, but
it's-
I mean, that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm going to check that out.
yeah. So
This is a pretty legend place.
yeah, so he did this, and then he just sold it off, and that's how this place came. Because I was here right before Irene. I only went here one time, and it was nowhere near as nice as it is now. Like I would say it was probably like a 3-star resort. Now it's like 4 to 5, right?
Right.
You know, so and for your conference, it's literally right down the road. And actually, if you had people write me, I know a lot of rentals and people who have rentals.
Oh,
and
that's
I'm
awesome.
making no money off that, just so you know.
Right.
I'm just,
Oh,
I'm
that's
just giving-
well. It's very nice
yeah.
of you to offer, and I think that the bear market's been rough. I'd really love to see people. That's why. So I'm asking people to donate $250 as an individual to come
Okay.
down. But if you're really super poor and you really want to come down, like call me. We can think of some kind of a trade or something. I just want to see people come down. The hotels that I've been seeing in the 1-bedroom apartments and rentals are like $100 a night. It's not crazy.
Yeah.
You can stay here. I was Googling this. It was $350 a night. I don't know if it'll still be that, but during the time. So it's not, outrageous, but it depends on what you want. You can live really well for $100 a night too.
Perfect example is right, virtually, like you could walk to the conference there. My friend has a house on the cliff.
Well, it's not quite a conference.
A conference or whatever, musical
event.
event,
Sure.
fun, whatever.
Okay, good.
But it's like you could walk
Conference
there.
sounds so serious.
I would say it's a 10-minute walk, right?
Oh, cool.
And he's got this awesome house on the cliff. I think he rents it out for $500 a night, but it's like 3-4 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have, if you knew a few people, you could have 4 or
Sure.
5 people staying there, paying $100 each. And I'm telling you, it's like, oh, he's got a deck overhanging the cliff.
Oh, wow.
It's like amazing.
He likes to live on the edge.
Yeah, literally. And actually, when a hurricane hits, the water, but this is hurricane season is done, so not to worry about that.
Yeah, we're all good, and I'm sure it's going to be miserable wherever you are in January.
Quickly to get back to the markets, because I'm going full circle. 'cause we
Full
didn't-
circle, guys.
Okay, because I remember we kind of got off a tangent there. Maybe my ADD was kicking in, but but anyhow, so with the markets, I think next year, as I said, because either socialist, fear over that, trade things not really working out, or whatever the case may be.
How's Hong Kong?
Hong Kong. I think
So destabilizing.
the economy is slowing. We're 11 years into expansion, and recessions usually happen every 10 years.
My God, Trump must be so stressed out all the time.
So, like, that's not even against Trump. Like, actually, I think we would.
It isn't against
I think
Trump,
if it wasn't for Trump, we already be in a recession because a lot of like the corporate tax reform, expanding the deficit actually helped short term.
Yeah.
So anyhow, if and you have that kind of animal spirits thing because like most of the people I know that like Trump tend to be more entrepreneurial, etc. Right? And I'm like not saying either way if it's good or bad, but in terms of him. But anyhow,
I think like we would say he's probably a mixed bag.
it is a mixed bag, yeah.
Yeah.
But if there is a slowing of the economy and a recession, that means the Fed is going to have to keep dropping rates and print money. And I'm more of a precious metal guy than a crypto guy, but I think that will be good for both, right?
Yeah.
Because it's printing more fiat. It's good for cryptos. It's good for it's good for precious metals. I personally think, and you're more of a crypto person than me, I'm invested in a few, the next wave in a lot of these cryptos will be asset-backed crypto, stuff backed by maybe a mining asset or real estate asset or stuff like that, rather than just...
What do you think? My co-host is Josh Shigala from Voltoro, and they do a gold and Bitcoin exchange.
Oh, I think that will work great.
Well, they've been doing it for a long time. They just raised on Bank to the Future, and God, I love those guys. So maybe I can introduce you guys at some point. Josh is like really legit. A lot of people try and do that, and they have varying levels, but he's OG.
it's tough because like if you link it to the gold price somehow, you're gonna limit like the volatility.
So it's not a gold-backed token, although I
Okay.
think that they're implementing something like that as well because it allows for more transferability of gold. But up until now, they were doing, you can keep your money in Bitcoin, you keep it in allocated gold, stored in a vault, not, some paper
Okay.
representation. But now they're going to be going into the future with those kinds of tokens where, because he was explaining to me on one of the shows about how the gold is easier to be transferred because you have a tokenization aspect. So it did seem to have some advantages. I don't want to speak for him, but
Well, like
interesting stuff.
one of the we should end off here soon, but one of the tokens I invested in, they have a real estate like backing, and they have like a note,
Like a REIT?
kind of like a REIT.
REIT, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they have like a bank note like backing it up. But it's same thing. It's kind of easier because instead of like setting up a brokerage account and getting interest on the bank note, it's like, so you own say you own like 100 tokens, just to make it easier. Say the note pays 6%, they just give you 6 tokens every year, on
Right.
top of the 100 that you own. So yeah, the tokenization does make a lot of stuff easier. See what happened in the crypto bubble. It reminded me a lot of the .com bubble. It's like the Wild West in the early days. Just stupid ideas. You have some scammers. You have stuff going totally crazy and volatile. It wasn't really regulated. So now I think the second phase of the bull market is going to be a lot more like probably like sustainable and a lot more longer term. And you're going to attract a lot more real people rather than some of the guys looking just to pump something or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So and you are getting more institutional money into it too,
Constantly, all that stuff is growing. Anywho, all right. So, what are your links?
Okay, so addictedtoprofits.net. I'm setting up Profiting from Paradise right now, and I'm David Skarica on YouTube.
And we'll have all the links. And just one more time, guys, the event is crypto-cares.com. And so far, we have confirmed Crypto Media Hub, my marketing company, we're putting on the event. 1110 Consulting, Disruptive PR, the Flow app, BitGive, Dust Aid, Bitcoin Magazine is our partner. Of course, my friends at LTB Network, where you're probably listening to this podcast. Sonic Scoop, which does music, news, so it's kind of cool. We've got a little music crossover. We've got Bytes Bahamas, Harness AP. Rhonda hooked me up with some really nice people here. You can check out her on the Tatiana show, Rhonda Eldridge, talking about her event. She did a hackathon in Nassau. We've got the Bahamas Plastic Movement and Token FM, my music blockchain platform, and of course our friends over at Soho Muse. Hey, Consuelo.
That's a lot of sponsors, man.
Well, we've got partners. We need money, but I got a lot of people that support the event, and that's the thing. We are looking for title sponsors. We do need cash to actually put on the event, and of course for donations. But if you can't do that, and you just want to, even share this with your friends, that costs nothing. Donate some air miles. Help us brainstorm or tell a news outlet about this event. Anything would be awesome. We would love to see you here. Totally affordable. Reach out to me, Tatiana at cryptomediahub.com directly. And thank you for listening to The Tatiana Show. Go to thetatianashow.com for more information. And the show airs on Tuesdays. I'm also going to be doing an interview with Dave for Proof of Love. So Proof of Love. It's okay. We're hanging here. Yeah. Proofoflovecast.com. And that'll be out, I don't know, in a few weeks or so. We'll see. That'll be a little bit scandalous. So this will be a little bit more tame. If this didn't seem tame to you, buckle your safety belts.
Yeah, it's about what it's like to be single here on like an island like this. So.
Yeah, well, we had a great episode recently with Leah from Celsius, who's actually a supporter of this show and Proof of Love. That's how I invited her, though. I just really like Leah. We get along. And so, yeah, she was talking about dating on the road, laying down some laws. And so you could tell us dating on an island, which...
Yeah, has
some challenges. We're going to get into that.
Yeah. And I have a bit of a reputation here. We'll talk about that in the next...
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that this time. We love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, or podcast version. We'll see. Bye.
Okay, thanks.